So with the alkanes, you can see that here are the first three alkanes that we've already seen. That's the methane, this is ethane, and this is propane. Now, here's a fun fact about the alkanes. The most important source of fuel in the world are generally the alkanes, right? And they're used extensively in the chemical industry. Some are gases like methane and ethane, and others are liquid fuel components, for example, octane. If you remember, Caltex has an ad on television, they say with the power of octane, but I think they just mean normal fuel. Never mind. So that's a fun fact, and remember you can find a lot more of these uses and production information about the alkanes in your textbook or online study guide. Right, here's some things about naming the hydrocarbons. We first check the functional group that will give us the suffix, the end of the name, like the alkanes, alkenes, or alkynes. Then we find the longest chain. The longest chain, we need to go in all directions to find it, like we've seen in the introduction to branched and unbranched compounds. And then we got to number the longest chain in such a way that it is closest to the functional group. We look for any branch compounds and then name them, and then we combine the elements into a single word. But don't worry too much about all of these steps, because with a lot of practice we will be doing it in the next few videos. Now let's name this compound. Let's see, what can we do here? Now we need to find the longest chain, and how can we do that? Let's count. 1, 2, 3. Is that the longest chain? Is there other possibilities? Let's see. 1, 2, 3. That's the same amount. 1, 2, 3. That seems like no matter in which direction I count, I still end up with 3 carbons. So the easiest thing for us to do is to go in this direction and just say, that's carbon number 1, that's carbon number 2, that's carbon number 3. Now if you go to your summary sheet, you can see that 3 carbons is prop. So let's go back. 3 carbons is going to be prop. Okay, and this carbon is sort of left out. That's a methane molecule appended to the main molecule, which becomes a side chain called methyl. Right? When you have one carbon in this manner, it is called a methyl side chain. So this is prop, and it's a hydrocarbon of the alkane family, so it's propane. And here's a methyl molecule appended to it, so we need to put in front of it methyl. And then we also need to say, where is that methyl? That methyl is on the second carbon, so it's 2-methyl propane. That's the name. 2-methyl propane. Let me do another one over here. Okay, and let's fill in all the hydrogens. And make sure you got 4 lines around each carbon. There we go. Right, so there I've drawn it. Have I got 4 lines around each carbon atom? Yes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see that that's a complete molecule. Now, in order to name this, we need to firstly find the longest chain, and I'm going to use blue, and I suggest you draw this out as well. Let's use blue. What's the longest chain over here? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, is that the longest chain? 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that the longest chain? Definitely not, because we had previously had 5. What about this side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, there's 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to number from this side so that it's closest to that side chain. So because we want to put the side chain on the lowest possible number. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, and that is 6. Now, if we go to our summary sheet, what does 6 looks like? 6 is hex, right? 6 is hex. So let's get back. 6 is hex. So I've got to have hex in my name. And it's a hydrocarbon with only hydrogen and carbon, so I can make it hexane. Now, what is this thing over here? We didn't take that into account. We left it out. That there is a branch, if you remember. It is a branch. We also call a branch something called a side chain. Now that's a methyl side chain. In other words, it only has one carbon with 3 hydrogens around it. So that is methyl. And again, like in the previous example, we need to show where exactly methyl belongs. It is on the third carbon. It is connected to the third carbon, so we say 3-methyl hexane. Okay, so there's 2 examples of the hydrocarbons that we've looked at now. What about this one? Now, this one is given in the condensed structural formula, right? In the condensed structural formula. So, I'm going to suggest that we draw it out first. And this thing in a bracket, that is a side chain. In other words, a branch. Let's draw this whole thing out. What color is good? Are we going to go for red? Let's go for red. The first carbon, which is bonded to that carbon, has got 3 hydrogens connected to it. Okay, so there's the first carbon. There's my 3 hydrogens. The second carbon has got 1 hydrogen and 1 side chain, which I'm going to just draw with a longer line. The third one has got a hydrogen above and another side chain below. And the next one has got, okay, good 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so let's fill in all our hydrogens over there like so. And now we're drawing out the structural formula. Right, so those things in the brackets, and I could have drawn this part on top just to make it easier, but nevertheless, they are the same thing. Okay, so let me get my blue pen back. In fact, let's use green. This thing over here that we've said is a side chain, right? That side chain, and this thing over here is also a side chain. That is this, represented by that. And that is this, represented by this. Right? Those are my 2 side chains. That's the first carbon atom with 3 hydrogens, which is represented as such. This is the second one that has 1 hydrogen and 1 side chain on the side. Next one's got a hydrogen and another side chain on the side, and the last one over there has got 3 carbons. Now we already know it's a side chain, so let's start naming this. Number it 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you tell me, what is 4 carbons? By now you should have memorized it. And 4 carbons is bute or but. Okay, so 4 carbons is bute, which I'll put over there. 4 carbons is bute, right? Now, it's a hydrocarbon, so it's definitely butane. And whatever is the substituents or side chains or branches on the side, we put in front of the name. The main chain always comes at the end. So what is this? This is another methyl molecule. Remember I said if you have CH3 as a side chain, it is called a methyl side chain. Okay? A methyl side chain. So I'm going to put the word there, methyl. Right? And then I'm going to also say, but there isn't just one methyl. There are 2 methyl side chains, so we are going to call that dimethyl. But now it's not sufficient. You must always indicate where it is. So we're going to put a dash there and we're going to say, well, it's on the second carbon, but in mind it's also on the third carbon. So it's 2,3-dimethyl butane, and that is the name we just found for this molecule. Okay, so we're not going to move further. That concludes our part on the alkanes. We've seen some side chains, and they are called methyl or ethyl or propyl, which I'll look at a lot more in the future. And let's update our naming summary sheet, because we've seen now that we've got 2 of the same. We call it di. Okay, so this is what I'm going to add to the summary sheet. Okay, so if I've got a carbon with a single bond between the carbon, okay, we will add the name and we'll make it ane. We'll add the name and we'll make it, the name must end in AN, and I'll put a bracket there because you add the E on like we've had alkanes, if it's an alkane. Okay, I'm just going to add this for the moment, and make that ENE if it's an alkene, and a triple bond. And if we've got a triple bond in the thing, its name will end in "-ine", right? And we're going to see why I've put these E's and brackets in the next two videos. Then I'm going to add another thing. I'm going to say if we have two of the same, right, the name will be, it will correspond to "di", and if we have three of the same, the name will be "tri". Okay, let's just put the dash in front of it. And if I have four of the same things appended to a molecule, that will be "tetra". So you should have the same thing on your summary sheet by now. Okay, in the next video we're going to start looking at the enes, alkenes, and then the alkynes. Okay, so there's a summary sheet thus far.